Welcome to the unit on servo motors and libraries. On this unit, we'll talk about what a servo motor is and how it works. It's basically just a DC motor attached to some gears and a potentiometer and some control circuitry. You don't know what a DC motor is, but later on in another unit, we'll talk about it. They're really great because you can get them to go to a very specific position. So really helpful for if you're ever doing any like planes or anything, like a remote control plane or a robot arm or anything that needs to hold a specific position at a specific time. They're very, very useful that way. We're going to control it using the servo library because they're kind of funny to control manually. They involve sending a pulse of a given width every so often. So we'll let the library handle that for us. But of course, to use the library, we got to make servo objects, which we make with the servo constructor, and we set up the servo object with the attach function, and we set which pin it's connected to and some other variables. And then we got the write function, which is super easy to use. We just give the name of the servo object .write and then give it an angle between 0 and 180, and it'll make the motor turn to exactly that angle. We'll also talk about the map function, which is incredibly useful. It lets you take a range of values. You generally use it with analog read. So let's say I'm reading from a photoresistor and my range of values over the course of normal, if I pass my hand over it, it'll range from a low of 200 to a high of 900. So I would set those as the normal initial range, the 200 and 900, and map that to some other set of values that are more useful to me. Say, map that to a 0 to 100 rating, some percentage that I can more easily understand or use in my program. So I use that all the time. Map function is very easy. It's so easy you could make it yourself, and you will see the code for it. It's just 3 lines. We'll also learn about decoupling capacitors, which is a great way if you've got something giving a fairly heavy current load at one part of your circuit. You don't want it messing with the rest of your circuit by changing your power supply, because that can have unintended consequences, particularly if you're reading off sensors. You might get a funny reading off that, but by sticking a capacitor right next to the parts of your circuit drawing power, you'll keep it nice and even and stop strange things from happening elsewhere in your circuit. We'll also talk about the mood cue project, which is a nice, relatively simple thing, which just has a potentiometer controlling your servo motor. So if you turn the potentiometer, the servo motor will turn relative to that. A more ambitious thing we're going to talk about is what a library is and what's going on behind the scenes when you compile your program, and how it uses all these functions, how it knows how to make a servo object, and all of that stuff. Where are these libraries stored? What are they? What's a header file? What's a source file? So we're going to talk about all that because I don't like things seeming like magic, and hopefully you don't either. So by the end of this unit, I'm going to get you to make your own library to control the servo, largely copied from the original servo library, but just so you get an idea of what's going on in a library. And so you could make your own when you get to that point. Anyway, thanks for listening. It should be fun.